They followed the sound of the voices. By the time they reached the clearing, they found at least 6 or 7 men there, all standing in a semicircle. Someone had parked his car just so and flooded the space with his car beams. The low-lying light cast the men's faces in ghastly angles, their cheekbones and chipped teeth upturned in wicked smiles of accomplishment. Bickford was the first of his little quartet to reach the clearing, Olin right on his tail. The heavy scent of wet earth and male sweat slinked through the small crowd. By the looks of things, Bickford could see the arrangements had changed. The rope and pliers were no longer needed. They were too late. All the other men stood over an open, shallow grave, and lying at the bottom of it, 3 young men, 2 white and 1 Negro. All 3 had been shot dead, their bodies oddly contorted, their faces grim vestiges of youth and hope extinguished. Bickford eased over to his friend and gathered up the details of how the plan had unfolded. According to his buddy, some folks had gotten impatient. Guns this time, instead of rope. The blue Ford station wagon the 3 men had been riding in will be burned and disposed of over at Bogachita. The other men stood around, holding conversations, laughing even, and grabbing a smoke. One man stood at the edge of the circle, pointing a brownie camera down into the grave and snapping pictures. There was a new man in their midst, because Bickford heard gagging and vomiting against a tree behind him. Probably someone who'd never seen a dead body, or the way Mississippi handled rabble-rousers and nigger lovers. Now all that was left to do was collect a few souvenirs, an ear, a finger, and head back to Jackson. Part 1. Leaving Jackson. 1. Violet Richards. My oldest sister Rose had been dead for almost 8 years, and still, she was bossing every part of my life like she did the day she died. After her funeral, I swore I wasn't ever stepping foot inside another funeral. All those tears and heartache to spill over a dead body, the soul of which was long gone. Brown bodies that were tired and worn out, their earthly usefulness ended. Or the other bodies, mangled from the wretchedness of living too close to white folks who killed us for sport. The Richards family had had too many funerals, and I didn't go to any of them after Rose's. That included Papa's death a few years after Rose, and Mama's passing last fall. Even now, folks around town still talked about that shameful Violet Richards gal who wouldn't go to her own mama's and daddy's funerals. After all those funerals, I was fresh out of tears. I was the reason for all them deaths, and the guilt of it scratched and picked at my heart as if it was a tender scab on a days-old gash. Now it was just me and my sister Marigold left. Seemed like after Mama died, the 2 of us wandered about aimlessly in the little lives all that death and loss left us with. I dreamed of being anywhere but here. Both of us desperate to leave Jackson, but forced to stay by the fear of wandering out in the world without our parents. Even as old as we were, losing both Mama and Papa had left us barely holding on. Death can cut you like that. Everyone, aunts and uncles, deaconesses from church, made promises to be there for us, to fill in and pick up where Mama had left off. But in the days after her death, everybody went back to their own bills and kids and troubles. Maybe they thought me and Marigold was grown women and that we'd figure it all out somehow. We talked and pretended like everything was okay, but it wasn't. Last year, after Mama's funeral, everything sort of spun off in a blur. There was the house full of people sadly shaking their heads and speaking quietly about how there was no finer woman in all of Jackson, but Mama's upstanding reputation among the neighbors and friends wasn't enough to dull the swollen pain of my having contributed to putting all those people I loved, Rose, Papa, and Mama, 6 feet under. A couple of weeks after Mama's funeral, I pulled out a bottle of Cutty Sark I'd stashed behind my bed and convinced Marigold to split it with me, liquid courage for us to get through the task of dividing up Mama's things. The scotch numbed us, but it didn't make the task any easier. Marigold kept Mama's Bible, with its